Hi again. Welcome to the last chapter of part 2, chapter 11. Uh, we are doing how to read a book, and this chapter is titled Agreeing or Disagreeing with an Author. Before doing this, agreeing or disagreeing, you must first make sure you have understood the book. If you do, and if you agree, there isn't much left for you to do, except perhaps think about how to apply what you have read, or to compare and contrast an argument or claim to that made in another text. Apart from agreeing, you can of course disagree or defer your evaluation. To do any of these, to come to any sort of conclusion, you must meet the author halfway. In other words, not only must terms be exchanged between the two of you, but knowledge as well. Ideally, your minds must become one in terms of understanding. Okay? Understanding does not necessarily mean agreement. Okay? That's an important distinction to make. You can understand what drove someone, say, to suicide or to crime. Okay? But that does not mean that you agree that these were the only solutions available in their predicaments. Okay? So not all disagreement stems from misunderstanding. All right? But to refute or agree with a certain claim, you must understand it as well as, if not better than, the author you are contending with. When disagreeing, make sure you're being rational and not merely expressing strong emotions or prejudices. Okay? There are exceptions, of course, okay, such as speeches and poetry. Second, become aware of your own prejudices. This is important because it allows you to be generous toward the assumptions of other people, which they will inevitably have, and make you better able to understand their arguments. To prove a point, an author may ask you to take something for granted. I've mentioned that. I forgot if it was the last video or the one before that. Okay, so just because an opposing thing may be taken for granted just as easily, or just because your assumptions lie elsewhere, these are not, this is not justifiable ground for dismissing an author's arguments. Okay? In fact, it constitutes poor intellectual etiquette. The final point is this: try to be as objective and unbiased as you possibly can. All right? Is this an ideal? Yeah. Okay? And it will probably forever remain so. But that is no excuse for not aiming toward it. Okay? When you civilly disagree, there are usually 4 things you can say about the book and the author. Okay? So, number 1, you're telling the author, and I've taken these all from page 156, you are uninformed. You are misinformed. You are illogical. Your reasoning is not cogent. And 4, your analysis is incomplete. Okay? These 4, end quote. These 4 remarks are not mutually exclusive. Okay? An author may have committed one or more of them. All right? In any case, be prepared to give reasons, not feelings, as to why you have passed certain judgment. Let's look at each of the 4 situations in detail. When someone is uninformed, it means that they are missing a vital and relevant piece of information. Without it, an argument will be flawed or incomplete. When someone claims to have knowledge they do not possess, that person is labeled as misinformed. Okay? Here, an author usually has a skewed or inaccurate version of the facts, and so any conclusions drawn from them are implausible. Okay? When an author reasons poorly from good grounds, he or she is said to be illogical. Okay? This is also true of authors who argue inconsistently. Okay? To recap, an author who argues well but whose evidence is tainted is misinformed. An author who argues poorly but has sound evidence is illogical. And one who's unaware of essential information is uninformed. Okay? If an author has not committed any of these 3, as far as you are concerned, you must agree with him or her. Okay? You may not like the conclusions they have drawn. Okay? They may go against your religious beliefs, your upbringing, okay? Your insecurities, your prejudices, okay? But if the evidence has been deemed sound, you have no choice but to agree. All right. Interesting. We haven't talked about the fourth and final point, that of incomplete analysis. Okay? This is not strictly reserved for disagreement, okay, but deferred judgment. So people have limited time and limited knowledge, and no text can ever be exhaustive, okay? Just like no human is perfect, no book is perfect, okay? The final point then is not just possible, right? The fourth point, okay, that of incomplete analysis. It's not just possible, but inevitable, right? So you can always say, okay, yeah, you mentioned this, but did you read that? You could have mentioned that. Okay, so your job as a reader is to ask yourself what is missing, what problems have not been fully or adequately solved, and use the text as a springboard in order to explore an idea further. Okay, this is a major reason why you as a reader should define terms precisely. Okay, they allow you to compare different works more easily. Okay, I'll now summarize what's been discussed so far concerning analytical reading. Okay, remember, it is done. Part 2 is over. All right, or about to be. I have taken these from pages 163 and 164 of the book. Okay, all the rules, 15 rules. Are you ready? All right, let's start. Number 1, classify the book according to kind and subject matter. 2, state what the whole book is about with the utmost brevity. 3, enumerate its major parts in their order and relation, and outline these parts as you have outlined the whole. 4, define the problem or problems the author has tried to solve. 5, come to terms with the author by interpreting his key words. 6, grasp the author's leading propositions by dealing with his most important sentences. 7, know the author's arguments by finding them in or constructing them out of sequences of sentences. 8, determine which of his problems the author has solved and which he has not, and of the latter, decide which the author knew he had failed to solve. 9, do not begin criticism until you have completed your outline and your interpretation of the book. Do not say you agree, disagree, or suspend judgment until you can say, I understand. 10, do not disagree disputatiously or contentiously. 11, demonstrate that you recognize the difference between knowledge and mere personal opinion by presenting good reasons for any critical judgment you make. 12, show wherein the author is uninformed. 13, show wherein the author is misinformed. 14, show wherein the author is illogical. And 15, show wherein the author's analysis or account is incomplete. With this, we're ready to move on to the last chapter of part 2. Huh? Why do I have this? I thought this was the last chapter. Why have I written this? No. Oh, okay, I'm right. I was right when I wrote it. I was wrong when I said it. Okay, we still have one more chapter. Chapter 12. Okay, I apologize. Chapter 12. I'll see you soon.